Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our A.C.M.G. content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things A.C.M.G.
Talk Time Live.
This is Amanda Celine Miller, the voice of Boruto and Sailor Jupiter, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live.
It's time for your Talk Time Live exclusive.
You are now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the show with me right now is what I consider as one of the defining examples of underground hip-hop and nerdcore to some extent. He, alongside with Mega Ran, created the follow-up album Emerald Knights 2, which made it to multiple, not just one, but multiple Billboard charts, and he is here to talk about that and much more. Folks, please welcome Felix Don Gato, a.k.a. Bag of Tricks Cat. My man, what's going on?
What's going on, Dax?
Not much, man. First of all, thank you. I've been, I was just talking about it like off mic, and I'm like really glad to finally get you on the show, man. There's so much I've been wanting to talk to you about. Like, you are a real ill dude on the mic, and
thank you, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah,
happy to be talking to you.
No doubt. So we're going to learn a little bit about you, especially our listeners here who may or may not know more about you. But you got some interesting, significant things about your persona and such like that. And I want to get into your head as to where you are in the philosophy and mind of hip hop. So I want to talk about your name first. You use the character, the classic character. Unfortunately, I think you're one of the only people that are keeping this character alive in this day and age. But the character of Felix the Cat, which is one of the most classic, iconic animated characters. We're talking dated way back to the times of early great animation and such like that. But you're using that with a deeper connection. And can you talk to us about that connection that you have with the character?
Yeah, well, stemming back to what you were saying about the character itself was actually the first televised image ever.
Yeah.
So before the first thing that was ever televised on a TV was an image of Felix the Cat. That's how far the history of the character dates back. And Felix the Cat actually just turned 100 years old this year.
Wow.
So yeah, Felix is 100 years old. How it's connected to me is in 1959, my grandma, her name was Ann Bennett, she sang the theme song to the cartoon, Felix the Cat, the wonderful, wonderful cat. That's my grandma. She got paid $75 to do that. And the cartoon, had a tremendous amount of success. And it was one of her claims to fame in her time. She was a big band singer on the East Coast, and she did a lot of theme songs for cartoons and stuff. A lot of them didn't pop. Yeah. But Felix the Cat did. Yeah. And so it was something that she was very proud of, and throughout her career and her life, she got a lot of eyes on her and a lot of ears on her for it. So
the longevity of it is insanely. It reached throughout different generations still to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's just a pop culture in general. And people have always called me Felix because of it. And so it's something that there could be 100, 1,000 other artists or anything that try to use Felix the Cat or a similar name, but none of them are as authentic as me. So,
exactly.
It's very personalized. Yeah.
No, I think it's an awesome story that you have for that, and the deep connection. Is that paying any homage to your grandmother and just the character itself, the heritage?
Yeah. So one of the things that now it's more known, but growing up, like a lot of people didn't know that my grandma sang that because there wasn't a lot of documentation on it. But fortunately, because of the internet and a lot of interviews and articles that she did, she received, the credit for singing it. And when you look it up, she gets her credit. But it's a way of keeping, her name alive and relevant. And to me, like, if you look at my logo and everything, like, my cat has pink eyes, so he's either really sleepy or something else.
Exactly.
And to me, it represents.
I call it inspirational.
Yeah. To me, it represents like tainted youth. You know what I'm saying? That things are different from when they once were.
Interesting. And
adds a sort of reality to everything that I do. Like sometimes it's fun, and a lot of my music is fun and upbeat, but sometimes there's some harsh realities in it.
Yeah.
And I think that behind that smile in those eyes, you see a lot of that.
Yeah. So I want to ask you the age-old question. I'm gonna hit you with the brown sugar real quick. When did you first fall in love with hip hop?
Oh man, I was a kid, and I started getting cassette tapes. So like my first cassette tapes were like Slim Shady LP, The Chronic,
right?
Late 90s, early 2000s stuff. And I had a portable cassette player, and I just constantly played those cassette tapes over and over and over again.
Awesome.
Until it got to the point to where those cassettes, like the tape wore. And so eventually my mom had to just buy me a CD player because, the CDs they didn't wear.
Hopefully not the portable one where you had to hold it up in one like angle.
No, I did have the portable one, yeah. But fortunately, I always had my CD player. Before that, I always had my cassette player, and I was always studying cats like Tupac and Jay-Z and Eminem and Nas, and
right.
I just fell in love with it, man. I just fell in love with the storytelling of it. You could go any way you wanted to go. You could be the villain. You could be the good guy. You could be a narrator. You could tell whatever kind of story and take your listener on whatever kind of journey you wanted to take them.
Yeah.
And so I just fell in love with it, man. And I had already was writing poetry and stuff. When I was small, like I learned how to read and write at a very young age, because one of the things my grandma did was she sang Hooked on Phonics.
Oh, wow.
They used to have, before even VHS tapes, they used to have these Hooked on Phonics.
I know what you're talking about too. It
had like a projector. It had like a little projector, and it had like a little film roll and like a cassette that you would play with it. And on the cassette, it would prompt you when to move to the next piece of film. And like a lot of the stuff I learned early on was like rhyming families and everything. And that's, so from the earliest age, I can remember some of that stuff. And so I just automatically was drawn to it.
That's awesome.
And it just it turned into my life. I mean, it just became an obsession.
You bringing me back to some nostalgic things right now.
Yeah.
Talking about this. But, you talk about storytelling too. Let's talk about what's going on now in hip hop. Aside from what you guys are doing in the underground, which I do respect deeply, the mainstream part do you feel that storytelling is being diluted in the mainstream right now?
You know what? I can't say that it is, like, because there are mainstream acts that still continue to use it,
sprinkle around the bunch,
and do it well. Like just off the top of my head, and the most recent one I could think of was Lil Wayne and Kendrick Lamar on that Mona Lisa.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Which to me is a great storytelling record. So I don't think that it's used as often as it once was, and I don't think sometimes it's used as effectively as it once was. But when there are some mainstream acts that when they do it, they really do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's completely diluted. I just think we see less of it.
Yeah.
And even less of it done really well and innovative.
Right. So when you actually got into the game and you got started, like, I mean, obviously your first album was a big deal. It was a major, part of your life, a milestone, if you will. But what actual challenges did you have putting them together? Did you have any?
Putting together my first album?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my first album I considered to be The Cat That Never Came Down, which came out in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I did various projects before that no one can find unless you actually had a physical copy of them. And there's a reason for that, But I mean, starting off, it's investing money into it. And also, like, dealing with all the personal stuff, because, like, when I was putting together my first album, my grandma had just passed away. Mm-hmm. So I was dealing with her loss. And then I was just getting out of a bad relationship, You know what I'm saying? And, my girl had cheated on me, and I wasn't feeling that. I was having issues with the law, and things like that, questioning what I was going to do with my life. And so, like...
You sound like me in high school.
Yeah. So, like, the personal gripes that I had to deal with during that time were harder to maintain focus on the album, but I did. And I think that's... one of the most difficult things is staying focused. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you stay focused on the project and like, okay, I need to get these records done. I need to hit these deadlines. I need to pay for this, and this, mm-hmm. So you can have an effective campaign and you're not going to let, the things that happen in your life deter you from hitting those goals.
Yeah.
Then, you really get to it. And I would say that was the first time that, I went through that and I succeeded. And so it happened to be my first debut album as Bag of Tricks Cat. Awesome. And so, that was difficult. But there, I mean, it was a lot of fun too, mm-hmm. Like that's actually, I had just started working with Mega Ran mm-hmm. around that time. We had done some records together. I was shooting like my very first, like legitimate music videos and stuff. Mm-hmm. All original production and stuff. So like there's a lot of fun that came along with it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just like anything that is worth doing, it's not easy.
I always say, I got to say, and I say it almost like every interview now. I say this because we always get into these conversations, but I always tell people, you got to work hard to have fun. It's not, Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
It's the truth. It's something that I learned going in my journey and still going in my journey for what I do. And especially working with certain people who didn't understand it and get the gist of what it means to do what you love. But you're going to do what you love, but you're going to have to earn it. You really are going to have to work hard to have fun to do it, and there were people who, another saying that I go by is like, and I'm not a lyricist or anything, but it just so happens to rhyme. I don't know what it is from, but I usually say, people try to lay claim to the, fame or the name without the gain.
Yeah.
And they see all the glory of what you're doing. They see all the glory of even the little that I do, and they want all the piece of it or all of it, but don't want to go into the oven to do what it
they don't want to do the work.
Yeah, they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to do the effort.
And that's a lot of cats. That's a lot of cats in entertainment, man. Mm-hmm. Entertainment, there's an allure to it of, you want people to know who you are, and you want your work to be respected, and you mm-hmm. want your opinion to be respected. And, those are all good aspirations to aim for, no matter what industry that you choose to be in. No matter what industry you choose to be in, I mean, you have to work to get that.
Yes.
And you have to pay your dues. You have to earn your stripes. You have to go through the losses.
Take the risk.
And if you're good enough to win, you're good enough to lose. So
mm-hmm.
you got to earn your stripes.
Couldn't have said it better. Talking about Mega Ran, I mean, he's a friend of the show. He did the the intro to my normal Prime show, and he did the introduction to the exclusives here. But
okay, cool.
I've known him for working with you for quite some time, and honestly, probably through him I heard you, and I was like, wow, what a great partner. What a great partner that just blends in greatly with to you guys merged together, but you got completely two different styles of how you guys, throw down. And it's awesome. I mean, you don't get these type of combinations like this all the time. Talk about how did you guys meet?
So Mega Ran, I had known who he was. I had saw his video, Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Where he's turning into a bug. And I thought it was really cool. I thought the video was well done. It's storytelling record, speaking on that. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. And I think I was maybe 19. And a buddy of mine who I have been working with for a long time, you may have know his name. He's done most of the videos that I've done and the videos me and Ran have done together, LJ Beats.
Yes.
LJ Beats was giving him some beats and he was rapping on them. And I found out LJ hit me up. He was like, Mega Ran's rapping on some of my beats. I've been taking a few to record. I was like, that's really dope. I want to get a record in with him. And so I had this beat that LJ had given me to this record called Friends. And I reached out to Mega and I showed him the record and I had him come down to the studio. And, when you're an artist and you're in the lab and you're making a record, there's a vibe is a big part of it. The vibe of the room, the vibe of everything. And it really reflects on the performance that you give and how the song turns out. And it was one of the first times like the vibe in the studio was just so great and so positive. And
you can hear it in all of the albums that I've heard you guys in too.
Yeah, like there was just a great vibe and great chemistry when we did that. And I was like, man, like he killed it. And so I featured him on another record. He featured me on one of his records. And I was gearing up to do my first big release, which was the first single out of Cats Out the Bag.
Yes.
Which is Dream Girl. And so I reached out to Mega to be on that record, and he hopped on it. And then we were filming the video with LJ. And randomly, he was just like, I'm going to Europe here later on this summer to do a tour. Do you want to roll with me? And like, I wasn't really prepared to go, but I wasn't going to say no. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I got my passport. I expedited everything. I did everything I possibly could. And we went on tour and we really bonded on the tour, I felt. And we recorded an album while we were in Europe, which was the first Emerald Nights. It was the Emerald Nights tour because the reason we gave it that name was because Nights are from Europe, and then the U.S. part of it, we were only doing the Northwest. And so they call Seattle Emerald City. And so we decided to call the tour Emerald Nights. And no, it had nothing to do with Green Lantern or anything. It actually has to do with we were in Europe and we were in the Northwest. And yes, there's a couple things. Green Lantern is one of them, the Emerald Nights.
You're absolutely right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But anyway, we recorded this album out there. We had beats from a Canadian producer. His name was Fresh Kills. Really dope producer. And so like it was really like a worldwide thing because we recorded the songs in Europe with beats from a producer in Canada, and then we had everything mixed at my cousin's studio in the US.
Wow.
So it was really cool, and we released that. And then I released Cats Out the Bag, and Mega released RMDM. And we dropped those two solo projects, and those went really well for both of us.
Right.
They both charted, and we had a lot of success on our own. And then I opened up my own recording studio in Phoenix. And then, Mega started coming to the studio, and
is that the infamous studio that you always recorded and y'all did the forgot what challenge that was. I feel like you guys did a couple challenges in there.
Yeah. We do a lot of one take stuff.
Yeah.
We actually have two rooms. We have room A and room B. My cousin runs room A, and I run room B. And we had just opened up the studio in a commercial building and stuff, and Mega just started coming through. And I got some beats and he got some beats, and we were like, at first we were like, let's just knock out a record together. And then it turned into, all right, well, why don't we just do Emerald Nights 2? And yeah, we just started knocking out records, and it turned into what it turned into, which I think I'm very proud of that project.
Well, not only are you proud of it, segueing over that to my next question. I mean, you guys did a great success off of the latest album, which I do own, and it is a part of a lot of my different playlists out here.
Oh, sweet.
I thought it was a fantastic album, a great follow-up album. And not only that, again, it as we mentioned in the beginning, it made multiple Billboard charts. What was the main goal you guys wanted to achieve with this album, and did it meet expectations?
So the main goal with Emerald Nights 2 was on Emerald Nights 1. It's a more melancholy album. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we were both going through a lot at that time, and it's very introspective, and we both felt like there was a lot more to say, that we each had a lot more to say than what we said on that album. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to say that, and we wanted to top it sonically, you know, content-wise, our performance-wise, the verses, everything we wanted to do, we wanted to be a million times better than Emerald Nights 1. Right. And looking back on it, I mean, if you play them back to back, I think that we definitely did accomplish that. Mm-hmm. As far as like the success of charting and stuff, I mean, we obviously wanted the project to do well,
right,
and to chart, but it definitely exceeded our expectations, hitting the rap charts and the hip hop R&B charts. We did not expect that. You know, I mean, we kind of felt like, okay, you know, I mean, I've charted, you've charted, we'll probably hit like independent. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We expected, you know, something like that would happen, but neither of us thought we would hit rap or R&B and hip hop.
Right.
And so, yeah, we also started working with a producer too. He produced 4 tracks on that album. His name is G1 to the Rescue. Mm-hmm. He produced Heat Stroke. He produced Unbelievable. Oh yeah. Rappers in Their Feelings, mm-hmm. and Love Is Here. Some of the standout tracks on there. Yeah. And he even sang on Heat Stroke. You know, so the production I felt was really beefed up and sounded great. Yeah, I think that we did everything we wanted to and more with it.
Yeah, definitely felt like a graduation album to the next level. And it
yes,
it did absolutely great.
We set the bar high for Emerald Nights 3.
And to my correction,
we set the bar high.
Correct me if I'm wrong. K Murdoch was also part of this album too, right?
Yes, K Murdoch produced a track on there. He produced How Do You Sleep at Night?
Yeah, and I definitely, again, segue into that. My next question, because one, he's been on the show as well. He also was the producer of the theme song that is played on a weekly basis on the show as well. He's awesome. I actually got a chance to meet him as well when he came down to Philly to work at a con that I was working with to cover media, and just an awesome dude. Both of them are, and hopefully I could see you down in Philly sometime soon as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Man, I really want to get to the East Coast. I haven't done anything on the East Coast. I've only done the Southwest and Northwest and a little bit of the Midwest.
I tell you what, part of the whole Keystone thing was interesting because I actually interviewed somebody, from Reed Pop, which is the comic book company responsible for New York Comic Con and such, also, which led to Mega Ran performing at that event as well, along with a few others. So, I mean, keep it open. I mean, hopefully, through hearsay or whatever, we could get you down here.
Oh, yeah. It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. But
Sooner than later.
Yeah, damn right. If I got anything to do about it. But talking about some of the tracks, I mean, you mentioned some of my favorites. I mean, I'll go down the line as what's on my playlist. 3 in particular, especially Unbelievable, of course, is just like the one that stood out to me of all. It's a great anthem theme right there. 2,
thank you.
Emerald Nights Go is one of my favorites too. It's like that's a workout. That's my workout spot right there. When I start working out in the spring again. But the one that really I want to focus on and ask you about is How Do You Sleep at Night, because that one kind of hit near and dear to me. As somebody who also decided to take the jump and decided to take the risk and say like I'd rather be risking it rather than settling it in the office at a dead-end job. Mm-hmm. But you got to go through you got to earn it, like we talked about. And that one was so empathetic to me in the sense that it talks about the hardships of pursuing your dreams while trying to stay afloat. What were some of the biggest hardships that you went through getting to the point of your career right now?
Well, like some of the things that I talked about earlier, like with The Cat That Never Came Down, going through all that in the process of making an album, that was rough.
Yeah.
You know, some of the things that I talked about in that song, and ironically, it happened to Mega too. Like, I was on tour, and, you know, my girl's mom passed away, and, you know, I wasn't able to be with her, you know, when she really needed it. And then that happened to Mega Ran too. You know, his wife, her mother passed away while he was on tour, and like, you know, there wasn't much that he could do about it either, because, you know,
he was across the pond.
You're going to be gone for the next, you're going to be gone for the next 2-3 weeks, and this is the money that you're relying on, and you know, so that stuff is tough. You know, you lose some friends, people who don't believe in you, people who don't see your vision. But you gain some new ones. You gain new ones, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I lost a lot of friends, but, like, you know, I met Mega Ran. You know what I'm saying? I consider Mega Ran a close friend of mine. You know, so, like, you gain friends as well, but you're going to lose some. A lot of it, too, is a lot of inner conflict of, you know, can I do this? Is it worth it? You know, and I think anybody, you know, that's an artist or in entertainment, you know, goes through that. You know, and one thing, I read an article not too long ago, I forgot where from, but, you know, people in entertainment and people who promote shows and all, like, they're more prone to suffering from depression and anxiety and stress, because, like, you know, your livelihood depends on the success of, you know, how dope your art is. You know what I'm saying? So if it's not dope, then you can't pay your bills.
Yeah.
So no matter how you're feeling, you know, no matter if you're having a good day, a bad day, you're going through a loss, you know, you're stressed out, no matter what, you have to push out something dope because your life literally depends on it. And, you know, some people can't handle that pressure. But some people, you know, they end up doing better under that pressure. I think I'm somebody that ends up, you know, doing better when I'm under that type of pressure. And I think most of the people that are successful in this field thrive under that. So, you know, man, like, it's just it's not an easy field to get into. It's not an easy career to pursue. It requires sacrifices and it requires discipline. And if it's something that you don't really want to do, then you're not going to make it through.
And you're not going to put your all into it.
But if you do and you're prepared for, you're not. But if you're prepared and, you know what I'm saying, it's something that you really want to do, you're gonna breeze through all of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can tell you from my experience, I've been through a lot of trial and tribulation in my life. So, and, you know, going to college, learning, you know, strengthening my craft and design and art and design and such, you know, dealing with teachers who doesn't sugarcoat it all. That really helped out too. It is a hard
having
thing.
Mentors. Yeah. Having mentors is so incredibly important, you know, like, and I'll credit some of my Mega Ran, you know, obviously was one of my early on mentors. There's an artist out here in Phoenix. His name's Buki. He's like a legend in Phoenix. He was one of my early on mentors. My business partner, Justice, who is the owner of Respect the Underground. He's been a great mentor to me. You know, and I feel like without them and without their guidance, you know, what I have done wouldn't be possible.
Right.
Because, you know, they've gone through the same and more.
Yeah.
And fortunately, like, because of them and because of learning from them, I was able to skip through a lot of mistakes, you know, just because of them being like, hey, this isn't a good look, don't do that. Or, hey, you should do this, you know, and I may not necessarily have had my focus on that.
Right.
So, mentorship is extremely important.
I absolutely agree with that, and it's crazy that we're talking about this particular issue, a situation at best, is because like just yesterday I was in the car with my wife, and we're listening to this podcast. She does a lot of she listens to a lot of health, mental health and fitness, podcasts, and they did talk about like social media influencers and how it becomes an addiction to them because their biggest thing and their emotional side goes, high or low depending on how much attention they get, and that reminds me of just what you just said right now, and it's kind of different in a sense in the way because how they achieve their popularity is way different, in my opinion, or as a contrast from how you do it or how I do it, where you have to like, well, let's say more you than me in this case, because you're in the entertainment business, you're working to make a profit. Some of those cats are just trying to get seen. And
yeah, but I mean, there are some influencers too, like that's their job.
Yeah,
and so if they're posting and their engagement's going down, or they're not getting the type of engagement that they want to get, like that's their livelihood,
and they get anxiety. They get anxiety too.
Yeah, that's their. It's not the. I don't think it's the fact that maybe they want attention, but it's the fact that, man, like I'm supposed to hit these numbers. Mm-hmm. How am I going to pay my bills?
And how am I going to get sponsorships and such like that? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, there's a lot of pressure for sure.
Yeah. So let's switch the gears real quick. Still staying in hip hop real quick, but I got to know, what you talked about a few of your, like, the artists that you grew up with, but who is your true Mount Rushmore hip hop?
Oh man, Mount of just all hip hop, everything.
Yep. There ain't no higher.
All right. Well, Jay-Z is number one.
Right.
Hove is the complete package. Mm-hmm. So Jay-Z is like George Washington for sure. You gotta have Hove. I'm gonna throw in. We'll put Eminem in there. Eminem has had an incredible career.
I have no complaints about that. Actually, in some cases, yeah, he can easily slide into that first head in some cases.
Yeah, I mean the reason I put Jay first is because Jay has had success outside of music, and Eminem is really more just successful within the realm of music.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Jay actually, and still kept it cultural as well. Yes. With everything that he does. It's still part of the culture.
Intertwines.
Yeah, it
all
absolutely
intertwines, man, from film to shoes to clothing to phones to everything, man.
Tidal. It just keeps going.
Streaming, like a whole streaming service, like, and then how many millionaires is he responsible for too within the game, and how many dudes he sunned. So like, to me, Jay's number one. Right. I'll give M a number 2 spot.
Yeah.
I gotta throw in Tupac just because of his cultural influence and how many artists wouldn't be around today without Tupac's influence.
Very true.
And the strong message that he portrayed. And it's a little controversial to say, but I think I'll take Pac over Big. Big. I think Big may have been a better rapper than Pac, and he could out-rap him. Right. But I don't think his message was as strong.
Well, he was. Let's be real with it. I mean, he kind of it's him. I was just watching TMZ about them. Talking about. I forgot what basketball team was doing a tribute to him with the Coogee patterns, and Coogee is actually trying to sue the team for it. But when you look back at what him and Puff did during that generation of the industry, they did a lot of advertisement. They did. Remember? Remember in the 90s how like the ideology was to like not sell out, and then you got these two cats coming out and glorifying everything and getting away with it, and it's like Hillary, and in the same way that Ric Flair would be in wrestling, which to me, I can't help but if I ever get a chance to be Puff, that would had to be my question. Is like, were you influenced by Ric Flair? Because what you did is the same thing that brother did on TV every week in wrestling.
Yeah.
He even wore the
that's
same
real,
damn
man.
Alpina, average aviator glasses.
Yeah, man. They made you want to buy Coogee sweaters, you know?
Right. But also, I think it actually, to me, and this is just my opinion, I think it also actually hurt our community and culture too, because now we got this whole new ideology of we can't value anything but the very best, which changed the 80s type of ideology and what I grew up in. And it was like, no matter what you do, just be the best at what you want to do and love what you do. When we got to the 90s and when they started popping out, it was like, no, I got to be the top. I got to be that dude. Nothing. I don't want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be that dude. I don't want to bring justice to the world. I'm not dogging him about it either. Because I've rocked.
No, but
I rocked
they
songs
changed
too.
the game.
They
changed the game.
changed it for sure. And I'm not knocking him, but it's just it was such a heavy influence that it took us to a direction. And I'm not saying they're responsible for it, because we got to be responsible for our own stuff too. It just took us to a whole new level of things and expectations, if you will, that a lot of us.
Oh yeah, I mean it helped commercialize hip hop.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
it helped commercialize hip hop for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with that. And then the number 4 spot, that's tough, man.
Yeah.
I think I gotta give it. You know what? I think I gotta give it to Dr. Dre, just because of the sheer influence, again, that he's had on the entire genre and culture.
He made more legends.
Like artists today, like the biggest artist today, like one of the biggest artists today, Kendrick Lamar. Like, would there be Kendrick Lamar without Tupac?
Nope.
Or would there be Kendrick Lamar without Dr. Dre? You know what I'm saying? Like.
And then you got to go to Snoop, and then you got to go to M, and then from M you got to go to 50.
Yeah, you got Snoop, M, you go The Game,
exactly.
50 Cent, like all these cats that are on my list, like are just cats that would other artists have spawned even after them.
Yeah,
it's just their influence is just so tremendous.
Yeah,
and so I think I could stand by those 4 for my Mount Rushmore.
Well, speaking of which, I got a question in relation to Eminem. We bring that up. You actually work with D12. Am I correct?
Yeah, I have a record with D12.
How was that experience? Because I was heartbroken kind of when, with everything that went down with them and then the deaths that was in that group. And it just, and I remember, Eminem's last album, he was talking about finally closed the door, opened the window to everything that was happening and why they didn't continue what was going on. But what was it like working with those? Because I thought those guys were fun to listen to.
Yeah. So back in 2015, I actually flew out to Detroit, and I was at D12 studio, and I was there with Swifty, Kaniva, Bizarre, King Gordy was there.
Yeah.
And what's his name? I think Jeff Bass. And they were working on a D12 mix. And I had already done a record with Bizarre called Never Sober. We had shot a video and stuff, and he was really impressed with the way the video came out. So he invited me to Detroit with my videographer, and my videographer shot a video for them and their mixtape. And then we ended up doing a record together while we were out there. And it was one of those scenarios where I really did keep my cool, because when I was growing up, I was a huge D12 fan and a huge G Unit fan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
so Devil's Night is still one of my favorite albums.
Yeah. And so I'm just if I were to tell my 12-year-old self, hey man, you're going to end up in the studio with D12, I'd be flipping out. So I really had to just woo-saw and make sure that I had my composure, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want to fan out, and I didn't. I kept it very professional and cool. You know what I'm saying? And they were very welcoming to the studio. King Gordy took me and my man's LJ, took us out for some Coney Islands You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was a good energy, man, and it was a blessing to be in the studio with artists that influenced me growing up, and it's a moment in my life that I'm never gonna forget.
That is awesome. So I got 2 more questions for you, but I want to definitely thank you right now. I mean, this is awesome. I love what I'm hearing. And I knew I was going to have this really good interview with you, and I was going to learn a lot about you and everything like that. You just got the vibe that I was like, yeah, let me bring him on there. I got a feeling that I could learn a lot from you, and I didn't. Hopefully our listeners will learn a lot from you as well. So I deeply appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Not a problem. But definitely, with all the work that you do, and you've been hustling hard, what do you do for your chill time? Do you game, or what do you do? Like, how do you...
Okay. So music is like my work. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. I love what I do. It's you know, want to do anything else. But when I want to relax, my hobby is movies.
Really?
I love movies. I love going to the movies. I go to the movies at least 2 times a week.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying? When I come home, like if, you know, I usually get home around midnight, like I try to squeeze a movie in before I go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Like on Sunday, like today, like I'll probably go watch a movie. Like when I'm off the phone with you, you know, I'm going to probably take my girl out to go eat. We're going to go to the movies.
I ain't mad.
So like, I love film, man. I really do. And all types of film, from, you know, box office movies, and classic franchises. Like, you know, I love the Marvel movies. I love Star Wars, but I love all types of film. I love, you know, documentaries. I love dramas, horror movies. Really almost any kind of film I really enjoy. I have a large collection of Blu-rays. My big thing is steelbooks. I love steelbooks at Best Buy. Keep all this rap money just goes to steelbooks. Some rappers buy chains and cars. Nah, cuz I need that Star Wars steelbook collection.
Just have it around your neck, just everywhere you go.
Yeah. I do game a little bit. Gaming, I really like games that have a story and like a plot that follows. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not really into like just a fighting game that has no, you know, story
pick up and go
or anything. Yeah, and so I don't have a lot of time to play them.
That's the problem.
I do love to game though. I have a lot of I have, you know, probably about 12 different consoles. But yeah, I'm a PS4 guy. I have an Xbox One, but I play PS4. When I do get around to it, I'm gonna be on that Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
And that Kingdom Hearts 3. I did beat Red Dead Redemption 2, and that was a dope run. And I thought the story on there was really dope and fun. Yeah. But yes, film is like number 1, like hobby, and then gaming would be a number 2.
Now I got a movie question for you. What was your favorite movie of 2018, and what are you looking for in 2019?
Oh man, I can't give you one favorite movie in 2018, man. That's just way too hard, bro.
It really is. It was some like I just finished watching Bohemian Rhapsody last night for the first time.
Bohemian Rhapsody was fantastic.
It was awesome.
And I'm really happy Rami Malek won for Best Actor. I thought he did a phenomenal job.
I've been a Queen fan for like years now, and like he just did it, man. He really captured it.
He killed it. Fantastic job.
And
I really like
the Green Book
Vice.
Also, I just see. Vice. How did you like?
Green Book was great too.
Yeah,
Green Book was great too, man. I don't know why they hating on that movie. That was a phenomenal film. Really, all the movies that were up for Best Picture were really solid.
It was. I agree.
Typically, like I'm like 1 or 2 of them. Like I'm like I don't know if that's Best Picture, but. I mean, all of them, man. Like, I loved all the films that were nominated. I really liked Vice a lot. I thought Christian Bale did an exceptional job as Dick Cheney. And I thought there was a lot of funny stuff in there. There's a lot of real stuff. And I thought that was a movie that was very important to see. But as far as, box office movies, you know, I mean, that Avengers, Infinity War, I mean, that just absolutely phenomenal. I loved it.
It was worth the 10 years waiting for it. Oh my God. Like,
and I really like Vice.
It was worth the 10 years waiting for it.
Oh my God. Like, and I really like Vice. And I really like Infinity War. I mean, that just absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. It was worth the 10 years waiting for it. Oh my God. Like, And it leads into what I'm looking forward to this year.
There you go.
Avengers Endgame. I'm looking forward to episode 9. I'm looking forward to John Wick 3.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
I'm looking forward to Pet Sematary. It 2. You know what I'm saying? There's so many.
You got
coming out, man.
Jordan Peele coming out with Us.
Oh, Us. This is gonna be exceptional, man.
I told my wife
It's gonna be insane.
My wife is too afraid to watch Get Out because she can't handle thrillers, and I told her, I'm like, this is indeed a thriller, but there's a really good message into it, and I don't think she can take it. I really think
there's some funny parts in it too. There's some fun in there to break it up.
There is, and I agree, and I think the same thing's going to happen too, because we were duped into Get Out, because at first we didn't know what it was when we saw these enigmatic trailers that they were coming out. But even before we even knew Jordan Peele was a part of this project, or this was his project, and then when we found out, it was like, oh, is this a comedy? And then find out it wasn't a comedy, and then when you go in there, it's like a little bit of everything of what we thought it was and more. I am predicting the same
Jordan
thing here.
Peele is doing He's doing the new Twilight Zones too on CBS.
Yes.
And I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan of the originals with Rod Serling.
Yeah.
I grew up on those. I still watch them to this day. And I wasn't really happy with the remakes they did in the 90s.
I remember that.
When they revamped it, I thought that was weak. But I think that if anybody can do it, I know that Jordan Peele can. So I'm looking forward to that. One movie that I got to shout out, though, it's a horror movie since we're on the subject of it, that I feel was slept on and actually should have had some nomination at the Oscars, was Hereditary. That movie was absolutely terrifying.
It's a shame. I was talking about this. I'm like, dude, should horror have their own category? Thriller or horror?
Man, they need to recognize something, man, because a lot of good horror movies came out. I mean, the new Halloween, I'm not sure if you're into that, but the new Halloween was great.
No, I'm not into horror, but I respect it. It took us years to get back into the point where somebody movies really scared the living daylights out of people, because there was a plateau within a few years of this where people were just not it didn't meet the expectations, the fearful expectations that people were going in. My sister laughed at Freddy Krueger back in the day, so I knew there had to be a whole threshold of fear to be instilled in there. And those Japanese horrors was the ones that did it.
Oh, yeah. They definitely did. But, yeah, man, there's so many good movies. It's impossible to just give you one.
Exactly. So, my man, thank you again so much for all that you do, man, and thank you for coming on to the show, and I hope to have you back on again. Before I do, please let us know what's coming up in your world, as well as how people can find you.
So what's coming up is I got a new album coming out on April 26th. It's called Felix Chevrolet. Yeah, it's named after the iconic Chevrolet dealership in the heart of Los Angeles. It's actually been around almost 100 years. But I constantly was getting tagged in photos of people passing by it and being like, yo, Felix. And I'm like, yeah. So I decided to name the album Felix Chevrolet. It's definitely a new type of music for me. There's some stuff that I haven't done on there before.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the people who listen to me, all my fans and supporters, to peep it out. I just released 2 music videos. One's a one take and then one's a music video. Mm-hmm. The one take's called 100 Years. The new music video is called You Ain't Got the Bag. Both of those are going to be on Felix Chevrolet. And then there's going to be several other videos coming towards the release of the album as well as after. I just actually got finished shooting the music video for it yesterday.
Awesome.
So there's all that's coming out. And yeah, man, possibly another tour or something here later on this year. But yeah, that's what it's looking like right now, Felix Chevrolet. And as far as finding me, I made it really, really hard for people to find me because I have, a very generic name that a lot of artists could have. and I made it very difficult. So no matter what platform you're on, you have to type in Bag of Tricks Cat. And I promise you, I'm the only one that's going to come up.
Now we know the origin of that. I really noticed that you did do that changeover over the time. So that question has been answered. Right.
Yeah. Everything is just Bag of Tricks Cat.
I thought you just became a member of the Wu-Tang and just started flipping your names over like different aliases and everything.
Well, like I'm Bag of Tricks Cat, but I'm also, Felix Don Gato. I'm Felix Chevrolet, Cat Daddy Kane.
Gotta have at least 5 minimum.
Yeah. I'm like the new ODB.
Yeah, right. Felix, thank you again, man. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoy it. I hope our listeners enjoy it once again. And guys, please go out of your way. If you're a fan of hip hop, invest in this man. He is absolutely quality in the world of hip hop. Whether you call it underground, whether you call it nerdcore, it doesn't matter. It's the culture. He's a part of it. He does a great job in it. He's keeping it going. So, Felix, thank you so very much again.
Hey, Dax, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate you, and I'm glad that we were able to figure out a time and everything to do this.
It took like take 3, but we got it.
We got it, man. Anytime.
No doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. On behalf of myself and Felix Don Gato, a.k.a. Bag of Tricks Cat, all I got to say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. Take care. This episode of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.